Hey, everybody, welcome to episode 4 of the Real Take Podcast. We've got another fun episode lined up for you today, and my guest actually has known me longer than I've known him. What? That is a riddle for you. No, it's because he was actually there the day of my birth. So, yeah, I didn't really have a memory back then. But funny enough, his son was born just shortly after I was. Same hospital, same town, blah, blah, blah. So we've known each other a long time, and we've got a lot to talk about. He also happens to be I want to say co-star, but it's really co-extra. We were both in the film Gone Girl. That was shot here in our hometown of Cape Girardeau. So we talk about that a little bit. So that was a good time. And his name is Eric Norman. So I'll go ahead and get into a little bit of what we covered in this episode, which was 1990 for our flashback year, which also happens to be the year that I was born, and his son that was born shortly after me. So that was fun. We got to talk about a little bit what happened in that year and covered some movies from then. And then our franchise battle was, drum roll please, because it deserves it. Oh my God, that was a terrible drum roll. I don't know what that was, but the series we're covering is The Godfather. So yeah, the infamous Godfather series. And then our Who They Play Best was about Tom Hanks. So obviously quite a movie legend that he is. We got a number of roles to cover talking about him, and we do pick a winner, which was very difficult. Another thing I want to mention about this episode is that it takes Eric and I a little bit longer than some of the other guests to get down to the nitty-gritty of the movie talk. So what I mean by that is we talk a little bit longer, about 1990 and the things that were going on and, the happenings and whatever before we actually discuss the main part of the movie. So kind of bear with us on that part, or if you're really only here for movie talk, you may want to just skip ahead a little bit, a couple minutes into it. But so I apologize for that. But if you're into that kind of thing, maybe you'll enjoy it a little bit more. And then one last thing before we actually get started with the episode with Eric is that we are now available on Spotify. So before we were mainly through iTunes and the podcast app, and then Podbean is the hosting site that you can listen through. So if you don't use iTunes, you got an option there. We are also on Blubbery, which is another website. And then, as I mentioned, Spotify will be happening today. So this is the launch of our Spotify podcast. So excited about that. So please give that a listen. If you're not a iPhone user for the podcast app, maybe easier for you to listen to the Spotify. Just want to let everyone know about that. And now, without further ado, please enjoy episode 4 with Eric Norman. Okay. My brain is back. We are on. Moving on. First segment of the day. Flashback year. All right. 1990 is the year we're covering. So first of all, my question to you is, how old were you in 1990?
1990, I was 29.
29. Okay.
28, 29. My birthday's in November, so.
Okay. Sure. I was 0/1. Yeah. I like your son, Ethan. I was born in December, at the end of the year. So what was going on in 1990? Just covering briefly a few things here for basketball in the world of sports. The Detroit Pistons won the NBA championship. The Cincinnati Reds won the World Series. San Francisco 49ers won the Super Bowl. Did you watch any of those? All of them? Some?
Yeah, I watched them all.
Okay. You a big fan of any of those? Pistons, Reds, Niners?
Big 49ers fan.
Yeah.
Reds, I was never a big Reds fan, but that was a huge upset. They swept the Oakland Athletics, who were greatly favored to win that World Series.
Okay, nice upset.
They had won the World Series the year before.
The Reds or the A's?
The Athletics. They lost in '88 to the Dodgers. That was the famous Kirk Gibson home run, and Oral Hershiser just had an unbelievable season.
Okay.
Then in '89, they had the big earthquake in San Francisco right before the game started.
Okay.
And they ended up suspending the season for a year. I mean, no, a year, I'm sorry. They suspended the season
baseball
for a week until everything calmed down.
Sure.
And then Tony La Russa used his 1 and 2 starters.
He was coaching the Reds?
He was coaching the Athletics.
Oh,
and
I see.
Dave Stewart and I think
I'm only familiar
Bob
with him
Welch
for the Cardinals. Bob
right.
Welch. I want to hear about the Niners because
Okay.
you're a big Niners fan.
They went 14-2.
And you were
that year.
So you were 28 or 29, depending on
Right.
football season. It doesn't matter. So you were 28 and 29. Did you go to any of their games, or where were you? Where were you
No.
living in '90? Where were you at?
I was living here in Cape
Cape?
Girardeau,
Okay.
so you just watched them on TV.
Gotcha.
And at that time, I certainly didn't have the money to go travel out to San
Sure.
Francisco, and the Rams were not here yet. The Rams didn't come to St. Louis until
Early '90s.
96.
6. Oh, okay. Let's do that.
95, 96. And
I can check it then.
at first, I wasn't really thrilled with the Rams moving
Here, yeah.
because I'd been a 49ers fan.
Uh-huh.
But it was the NFL, and I grew to like them eventually.
Sure.
With Marshall Falk and Kurt Warner and Isaac Bruce.
Once they got going,
fun. Yeah,
huge.
4 good years. That was it. That 49ers team, I did some research when we discussed doing this show. They actually, I think, scored 100 more points in the playoffs
Insane.
against their 3 opponents.
Jeez, domination. So what would you compare that season in the 1990 by the Niners? That's hard to say. What would you compare that to? Is that comparable to say the Rams' greatest show on turf, or maybe the Patriots in 07? Or Dolphins 72? Anything ring a bell? Or were they?
I watched the 72 Dolphins somewhat. You got to realize back then you had just a few games on TV.
Okay.
And so, you'd see the Dolphins some, but it's just if they were the later game or NBC showed them.
Sure.
See, the NBC had the AFC games.
Mm-hmm.
CBS had the NFL games
Makes
until
sense.
Fox took them.
Yeah.
I would probably say I don't know that there was ever a team as good as that 49ers team because they were just so dominant.
What were their
They won
two
all their
losses?
games on the road. They lost 2 games at home.
What were
and
those 2 games? How did they lose? Was it
I
close?
don't remember. They were both close. I mean, they lost both of those games by like a total of 5 to 10 points combined.
Sure.
I think it was 5 points. They lost by
a
1
field goal
and a field goal.
Yeah.
2 and a field goal.
Jeez.
And then they got in the playoffs and just crushed all 3 teams they played, and they won that Super Bowl by a ridiculous amount.
I was going to ask. I don't even
55
remember
to 7 or something like that.
if it was close.
It wasn't close after the first.
Close?
It
Wow.
wasn't close after the first quarter.
Jeez.
That's how good they were.
President back in '90 was George H.W. Bush. This show is anything but political. But any brief thoughts on him? Because I was not around when he was president. So.
Yeah, you were.
Well,
he lost
very
the
briefly.
'92 election to Bill Clinton. George Bush was a pretty good guy. The problem was that he was painted in the press as being.
He wasn't as ditzy as his son, right? He wasn't quite as goofy.
Well, that's even a misnomer too about George W. Bush.
Well, just the way his manner of speaking. Not that he's not intelligent, but just he had a way of speaking.
He wasn't a smooth politician.
Right.
People had 8 years of Bill Clinton,
Yeah.
who was literally
Fantastic speaker.
Well, he's just
To me.
an amazing politician. Clinton could. I remember once columnist from Arkansas.
We'll get to movies soon. Just
said
hold on.
about Clinton was that if the man said good morning, the first thing you did was check your watch, because he could lie about anything.
Oh God, yeah.
I remember this woman once complaining
Can you
about
do an impression? Do you have any president impressions of Bush or Clinton?
Clinton.
Yeah.
I just don't know what you're talking about. I can't believe that you would even imply that I could ever do anything wrong. I just
That's not
Hillary,
bad.
Hillary, where are you, Hillary?
I'm impressed.
So-
Because he grew up in Arkansas.
Yeah, he was from
Yeah, so that's a good accent.
One thing about George W. Bush, I remember this woman from Massachusetts was trashing him, and I just looked at her and I said, Yale, is that a hard school, or could anybody go to Yale, or does it take a lot to go to Yale? Oh, it's one of the finest universities.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Harvard Business School.
Ever
Is
heard
that
of
like
it?
a community college? Anybody can just sign up for classes?
Right.
Oh, no, they have very high standards.
Sure.
Oh, okay, great. You think flying a jet plane is easy, or anybody could do it? Oh, no, I'm sure it's quite difficult. Oh, okay. George W. Bush graduated from Harvard Business School, and he can fly a jet plane.
Jesus.
I mean, her husband just bust out laughing.
Oh, I bet.
And she didn't know what to say. She was just speechless.
Because she's into it, right? She's yeah.
Well,
those things are
she was
tough.
from Massachusetts, and she was very elitist, and looks down on anyone that's not from there.
Yeah, I've heard some names that I won't repeat on this show, but of people from that area that.
Well, it's a
they have
pretentious.
Yes.
Pretentious.
Yeah.
And in the political spectrum, your progressives, your real liberal people have a tendency to be kind of pretentious.
Sure.
You could turn around and say about Republicans that.
We're getting
Well,
politically.
we won't get in the weeds here. It's just is that perhaps they're real stuffy and
Sure.
they're not real open-minded and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So going back to George H.W. Bush, very accomplished man. He fought as a jet pilot. He flew jets in World War II, or airplane pilot. They didn't have jets back then. He got shot down and had to be rescued at sea.
Oh my.
His family was in politics. His grandfather, I think, was a senator.
I'm losing interest. Music.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just finish. He was a good guy, but he didn't have the charisma that Clinton had in the '92 election.
God, does anybody? It's kind of difficult to. Music.
cool.
So Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation 1814 was the best-selling album of 1990. Were you a fan of Janet Jackson? Yeah.
I didn't have anything against her. She's cute. She had a few good songs. One really pretty song is a ballad called "Again."
Okay.
She did "Nasty Boys," which was fun. It was a great beat to it. There's 4 or 5 songs I would listen to her at any time.
Sure.
So she's fine. She's good.
I can't say much about her as far as personal enjoyment of her music. I don't know a lot of her songs. I will say one thing: she did make a name for herself, despite being the sister of the self-coined king of pop.
Unfortunately for Janet is that everyone still remembers her and Justin Timberlake at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And
you got millions of people watching all at once. You do something, you're never going to live it down.
Mess.
Yeah.
Just a total mess.
Okay, so we're going to get to just a couple of average costs, kind of bringing you back to what life was like in 90. Movie ticket, $4.23. So nobody pays $4.23 at the box office. But that was the average. So obviously this is across the nation, so there's highs and lows. But the average was $4.23. Gallon of gas was $1.15. Again, I know with all my episodes, I mention these two, and a gallon of gas is tough. It doesn't always mean it's not always on the rise. It doesn't progressively go higher every year. It goes up and down, but still, sign of the times. It is a lot higher now than it was then.
Well, it's high at the moment.
It's almost 30
years
later.
Oil prices are up, and bottom line with oil prices is it's the cost of acquisition. And what people don't realize is that, it just, when you think about an oil company's profits and you see these record profits, you think, oh, it's all gasoline. No, they only make 10 cents on a gallon of gas.
That's crazy.
That's what everybody thinks. They're shocked when they hear that, but they only make 10 cents on a gallon of gas. Same with the tobacco companies. They make 10 cents on a pack of cigarettes.
That's insane.
And
I would assume a lot higher.
But so many things can be made from oil.
Sure.
Like plastics, makeup, jet fuel, kerosene. All these things come from a gallon of oil.
Sure. Do you know what else happened in 1990? Well, besides me,
you and my son were born.
Movies came out.
I like movies.
I like movies
I think that's
too.
why I'm here.
I think so. Thanks again for coming. I'm going to name a few popular movies, and then I'm going to name a few of my favorites. So first of all, Goodfellas, Edward Scissorhands, Pretty Woman, Misery, It, Total Recall, Die Hard 2, Dances with Wolves, The Hunt for Red October, Predator 2, and Kindergarten Cop, just to name some of them. Do any of those stick out to you? Were you a big fan of any of those?
I saw most of those movies. I don't think I saw It.
Sketchy. I'm not into horror.
I'm not into
clowns
horror movies.
And stuff. Misery was
good. It was James Caan.
Miserable. It was.
And Kathy Bates won the Academy Award.
Yeah, Kathy Bates. What a performance!
When she hobbles
smashes his knees. Ow!
No, she breaks his ankles.
Doesn't she smash his kneecaps too? Later, like with the sledgehammer when he's laying in bed there.
So, I was thinking it was his ankles.
Could have been his ankles. Part of his legs, so he couldn't walk.
And she hobbled him.
Oh my god! Because she saves him from a car wreck and then wants to keep him there, right? Is that
she was his biggest fan. And,
scary. I hope I never.
It was a good movie, and she did a great job.
She did, yeah.
Goodfellas, very profane. I mean, it was a good story, but anything by Martin Scorsese has so much profanity in it. It's ridiculous. Let me think. Kindergarten Cop, that was cute.
Yeah. Arnold.
Schwarzenegger was pretty good. They
Yeah.
had Penelope Miller as the love interest, and I never could quite see Penelope Miller has a great love interest. Learn to enunciate
Hooked
here.
on phonics. Hunt for Red October. Sean Connery.
Sean Connery,
You
good.
like that?
Sam Neill.
I did
Sam
not
Neill
really.
was in that.
Yeah, Jurassic Park. Yeah.
Alec Baldwin was in it. And it was just a good movie. It was a suspense thriller. Is
Sure.
what it was.
Cool. I'm going to move to my top three. Again, these are my top three. This is by no means critically acclaimed top three or highest grossing or anything of that nature. It's just ones I enjoyed. So number 3, Arachnophobia, has Jeff Daniels and John Goodman. It is about spiders that kind of overtake a town, and so it's silly, it's goofy, it's supposed to be scary. It's honestly a little bit on the silly side. These spiders are kind of extra scary beyond reality. But it was good as far as suspenseful, and if you just want to have fun with a movie and you like kind of scary. Have you seen it? Or
I saw it when it came out.
Yeah.
John Goodman was played it real over the top as the exterminator,
Yeah.
as I recall.
I mean, it's goofy.
And I guess with like 5 minutes left in the movie, 10, of course, he gets killed, and, Jeff Daniels then kills the spider and saves the
right.
day.
And there's huge spiders, and he thinks he only kills the king, and then the queen is left. Well, okay. So if you haven't seen it, it probably sounds silly because it's about spiders. And a lot of you out there do have arachnophobia, and you're scared of spiders. So it may not be for you. But if you're into that kind of thing, it was cool. Tremors. I think this has gained a kind of a cult following, Tremors. They made 1 million of them, but I think the first one is the best. Kevin Bacon was in the first one, along with, unfortunately, Reba McEntire.
She's cute.
She's all right.
Fred Ward.
Michael Gross.
Yeah. What's the TV show he was on? Michael J. Fox and Meredith Baxter Burney were in that.
Something in Charge. Charles in Charge?
No, that was Scott Baio.
Yeah, that's true. They say the same in my head. They're the same thing.
And what's interesting, the guy from Arrested Development.
I'll look it up.
Bateman, Justin Bateman. What's his name?
I think. Isn't
his
that
sister.
It? Let's go with that.
His sister was in that.
I can picture it too. The photo of the family photo together. I can't think of it.
I want to call her Justine Bateman, but I can't remember.
I can
exactly.
look it up after and look it up. But Tremors. Have you seen Tremors?
Yeah, very good movie.
I
Very
think it's
fun.
good. The first one was more realistic. I mean, it's for anyone that's not familiar, it's about these underground worms that attack this town of only a few people, and people go missing and whatever. Again, it's another silly sounding movie, but it is actually pretty good. Now, the 2 through 170 or whatever they made was not so great, but the first one definitely worth a watch. When it's very scary if you're 5 years old, because that's how old I was when I watched it for the first time, and I had nightmares.
I thought it was good. It was fun. It
cool.
was good. It was funny. It was some funny characters.
Sure. Number 1, Home Alone, starring Macaulay Culkin. Man, that kid's insane. Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern were the burglars, I guess you call them.
Yeah.
Home Alone,
it was
classic.
funny. It was cute.
Yeah.
It was
any
kind of
particular
at
thoughts?
times sappy Christmas movie.
Yeah.
But when he
Kevin!
when he burned the top of Joe Pesci's head off.
Yeah.
Was
Those are my
funny.
favorite parts, the pranks, not pranks, but the booby traps, I guess.
Yeah, the booby traps,
that he gets on.
paint cans coming off the stairwells.
Yeah.
That was
Hilarious.
pretty funny.
Yeah,
The ice on the outside steps and then the tar on the inside steps.
It's very clever for a kid.
Yeah. Once again,
I'll never forget the scene, though, when he orders pizza, and then he plays Scarface. Yeah, and the pizza man comes to the door, and he plays the scene where the gun's firing, and the pizza man thinks there's a real gun, and then he runs off. So he got free pizza. I thought that was funny.
Well, I just thought it was funny when he said that, especially being the youngest kid, a whole cheese pizza to myself.
Yeah. If you come from a large family, you understand having a pizza to yourself is pretty special.
There was a Malcolm in the Middle, kind of along the same line with the little boy, the youngest. Finally got
That kid's
his
hilarious.
dream was that he could have a pair of pants that were new and not hand-me-downs.
Yeah.
So I could understand that.
Yeah, for sure. Last thing, those are all my movies that I wanted to mention. Do you have a favorite from that year? Any particular standouts from '90? You can certainly.
Let me see your list.
Sure, yeah, you can look at the list. I wasn't sure if there was anything that really stuck out to you. Anything you saw in theaters blew you away.
You know, Pretty Woman was really a cute movie. It was really good. It was very well cast with Julia Roberts and Richard Gere.
For sure.
And who's the guy from Seinfeld?
Jerry Seinfeld.
No, not Jerry Seinfeld.
I had it. The Kramer guy?
Not Kramer, the other guy.
The short, fat one?
Yeah. What's his name?
He was in Jurassic Park.
Jason Alexander.
Oh, that one. I was thinking of the Postman. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're right. Jason Alexander.
Jason Alexander was his partner and was kind of a villainous character.
Yeah.
He was pretty good in it.
Cool.
Dances with Wolves was a grand sweeping Western where Kevin Costner won a bunch of awards for it. It was pretty good. I mean, Total Recall was pretty good for a science fiction, in the future kind of thing.
I haven't seen it. I'm going to back.
Did
you see the new one? Did you see the newer?
I tell you, I liked the women in the new one a lot better than I did in the first one.
Yeah?
Sharon Stone and Rachel Ticotin were the actresses, which were fine, but nothing like, who's Justin Timberlake's wife?
Jessica Biel.
Jessica Biel.
Yeah.
And then Kate Beckinsale, who's just gorgeous. Kate Beckinsale is the villainous character that was played by Sharon Stone. Yeah, she beat Sharon Stone.
Yeah.
Let's see. I didn't see Edward Scissorhands.
Me neither, but I know Johnny Depp was good in it.
Yeah, they say.
Yeah. I can't say.
I've only seen Johnny Depp in one really good movie.
Which
and that's
was?
the first Pirates of the Caribbean. Everything else I've seen him in, I'm like, it's okay.
Really?
It's all right. Nothing.
His claim to fame was interesting. He was in a lot of rock groups. He was not an actor, didn't have any teaching or schooling on it, and he was in a fairly successful rock band in the 80s, and just randomly Nicolas Cage was friends with some of the bandmates that he opened for. His band got pretty good. He opened for some larger bands like Scorpion and a handful of others. And then he met Nick Cage, and Nick Cage said, because he was wanting to get out of music, he wanted to get into something else because his band, I guess, was falling apart or not touring any longer. Anyways, Nick Cage hooks him up with his agent, gets in touch with him, gets an acting job. He gets in Nightmare on Elm Street, I believe.
I remember him
kind of get started. So
I think his first TV show was 21 Jump Street.
Yes, but his first appearance, he was just in the very beginning scene, I think, for just a moment of. But he got his start.
I assume he died.
I don't even think he was in it long enough to die. I think he was just like in one scene. I'm not sure, but I know that it's just an interesting story in the fact that he didn't try to really be an actor. He literally said it was either that or getting a job at the grocery store. Like he was literally like out of options. So I'm not sure exactly what happened with the band, but I'm sure you could look it up.
We're gonna see how much money he's wasted.
Sure, I think doesn't he own an island? Private island?
He did. I don't know if he still does. He's in
After the last
all
few
these
movies,
problems.
Yeah.
He's in all these financial problems because of overspending. Like,
marital stuff too. He's gotten divorced
he married that young thing and Amber Heard divorced him.
it didn't work out.
Made all kinds of accusations.
Before we get too off track here, I'm going to move on to franchise battle. Sorry about my Depp story. Franchise battle is the Godfather series, so we'll be comparing 1, 2, and 3. Unfortunately, 3 is a part of the conversation. But so, first thing I want to ask is, do you feel that The Godfather lives up to the standards that people have set on it as being one of the greatest movies of all time?
Yes.
At least the first one.
Yeah, the first one. And the second one was really good, too.
Yeah.
It was a totally different way to tell a story, but once again, Coppola told a story.
Yeah.
And that's the whole key with me for movies is, are you telling me a story?
Yeah.
If you think about the medium of film, it's just a story being told.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So if you read a book, that's a story. If you watch TV and it's a show, you're seeing a story. So does the story make sense? Does the story make you think about it afterwards? That's all what, to me, the great movies are, is when you leave the theater, you're still thinking about it.
Yeah.
Right? Or you wake up the next day still thinking about it.
It has that resonance where you, yeah. Now, I think it's pretty obvious that I'm just going to read off the couple ratings. So I go by IMDb online a lot. There's Rotten Tomatoes is out there too. I don't find myself agreeing with Rotten Tomatoes as often, but at least as of IMDb, they have the first one at 9.2 out of 10. The second one is 9 even, and then the third is 7.6. So, and I find that is the common agreement that the third is the worst. But between the first two, do you have a favorite? Do you think one of them was told better or portrayed better in some fashion?
I like the first one immensely. And so I would say I like it better than the second one. The second one...
Did you like Marlon Brando or Al Pacino more as the Don, being the guy in charge there?
Well...
Or just like him differently?
If you break the movie down, the beginning of the movie, Marlon Brando as the Godfather, he doesn't last long. He gets shot in the first, half hour?
Yeah, I was surprised.
First 20 minutes he gets shot and he's in the hospital then.
Yeah.
Michael was not slated to be in the family business.
Right.
They had wanted him to be a senator.
Yes.
They want him to be a politician and lead the family to respectability.
And legitimacy. And he wanted out of that kind of life.
And so because of the situation, especially with Sonny getting killed, Fredo was a very weak-minded person who could not handle any stress.
It was a disappointment.
He had to take over the family.
Right. Out of necessity. Out of desperation.
What's always interesting to me is how they were able to take care of all their enemies in one afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck with that. But it was very stunning the way that unfolded.
Sure.
And, of course, it's not every day you're rooting for other people in organized crime, but you are rooting for the Corleones. The second one was very interesting because of the fact that they switched the stories between a young Marlon Brando, played by Robert De Niro, and then Michael as he's getting older. So it was filmed in a different way. I mean, they used, I guess, the sepia tones, the kind of the reddish background tones in the film so that it seemed old.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how that Marlon Brando's character, or Don Corleone, Vito Corleone, was not primarily setting out to be a gangster.
Yeah.
It just kind of worked out that way.
It was business.
It was a business, and it was a way he could provide for his family.
Sure. He did it pretty well.
Yeah. Then when you get into the other side of the story, which is Al Pacino. Yeah, Al Pacino is the fact that they tried to murder him and his wife in their bedroom.
Yeah, scary.
Well, totally changed his outlook, where he now had to seek revenge. He had to make sure he took care of everything with the idea.
It was personal at that point. Before, it's always business.
Yeah, this became personal.
Yeah.
And you could see, as the movie went on, that he became more and more detached from his soul. Okay? By the way,
going against his inner...
Well, the circumstances caused him to become ruthless.
Sure.
So that he forced out Robert Duvall's character, Mike Hagan, because of his wife's actions, which I if I'd been sitting there and my wife had told me she'd aborted my son, and this was something he was so looking forward to, I'd be pretty angry too. But basically, he shut her off from her children. Well, you go into the third one, and they've all got a relationship with their mother. So it didn't last forever, obviously.
Right. It's kind of odd how they decided to, and I don't know if this was part of the plan or this was just, I really don't know the story, but Godfather 1 and 2 came out just a couple years apart, and then it's another, how many years, 15 years or whatever, until the third one. So I don't know what the holdup.
It had no correlation to each other.
What do you think Francis Ford Coppola just got
What happened
bored?
Was he went off to do other projects, and he started in his own studio. I think it's called Zoetrope. Zoetrope. Zoetrope Studios. And it was nothing but bombs. Now, he made one really good movie, and I'd have to see the list of movies that he's made. I didn't bring an iPad with me. So, he did Apocalypse Now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, which
I forgot those
was about the Vietnam War and it was Martin Sheen and Marlon Brando was in it, and it was about having to have Martin Sheen go into the jungles of Cambodia or Vietnam and take out Marlon Brando. And Robert Duvall had a big role, or no, he didn't have a big role. He had a small role, but he had the statement, "I love the smell of napalm in the morning," which everybody thinks it's a famous line. And he is a captain, major, some kind of officer of a helicopter corps, attack helicopters.
So you like the movie overall? Yeah.
I really only saw it at the theaters. And it was kind of dark. It was real dark.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's kind of depressing.
I'm not a big fan of those.
It was a very famous movie. It made a lot of money, I believe. It got him a lot of publicity and Francis Ford Coppola. He's not just a filmmaker; he's an auteur.
Yeah,
he's so much more than. Well, if you look at the rest of the stuff he did. So getting back to Godfather 3, I think Godfather 3 was we've got to do a third Godfather. You can use the money.
Got to finish the story.
So let's throw a story together.
Question.
And then basically it's about Michael trying to find redemption with his family that he ran away, which
wasn't completely necessary in the story, I don't think, but debatable, I guess. Do you have you have a favorite, right? Number one?
Yeah, number
favorite?
one.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite line from that particular movie, from number one? Make an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah, well, there was that.
There's tons of them, though. I mean, you could literally
There's a lot of lines.
I love the dialogue in the movie. Love the dialogue.
See, that was just it. The whole dialogue, the pace of the story. There were no moments in that movie where I'm going, what?
Yeah. No,
there's no mistakes.
Yeah. That's a really good point, though.
That's just the amazing thing.
Almost every movie you watch, there's at least something that you're like,
I wouldn't have done it that way.
Right, yeah.
There's just
it's
no
done
mistakes.
Very well.
The plot
it's
makes
a little
sense.
longish. If you're going to get nitpicky, it's a little longish. There's some draggy points, but it all makes sense.
I never mind the length. I don't mind a long movie if you keep it moving.
Yeah.
So I thought they kept it moving because, they had the whole thing about going out to Las Vegas and the problems they were having with Mo Green.
Yes. Yeah.
All I can say, it's a lucky shot to stand there and shoot a guy right in the eye through his eyeglasses.
Yeah. That's a long.
It's a good shot.
Within the realm of possibilities, but not real likely.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got sidetracked there. Favorite line from the first one?
I don't know that I have a favorite
If you
line.
don't have one? No. Any favorites?
Well, I remember one that stands out is Sonny. The beginning of the movie, they have this meeting with the guy that's going to bring the drugs.
The cat was not even in the script. The cat, I read this, that it was just walking around the studio and Francis. What does he go by? How do you say his name?
Francis Ford Coppola.
Well, I don't want to say all that, but anyway, the director, he grabs the cat and is like, "Here, put him on your lap, see how he does." And he started purring. They supposedly it purred so loud they were worried it was going to block out the dialogue, so they had to kind of try to keep him quiet. But interesting backstory.
Perfectly fine. It was good.
Yeah.
Good prop.
Yeah. Now famous.
I remember the very beginning because it starts off with the Undertaker, and he starts with and goes, "I believe in America,"
Yeah.
And then he says, but then it's very interesting what Don Corleone says to me is, you've never wanted my friendship.
Right.
You showed me no respect. Mm-hmm. Why should I do something for you if you're not at least going to be nice to me?
Yeah. Love it.
And it was so true.
Yeah.
Favorite line.
I will say, while you're thinking of that, I will say one thing I appreciated about. So Marlon Brando obviously did a really good job. I liked his character. I liked the seriousness of the character. He was actually rooted in family, like you said. It was a business to take care of his family, to provide for his family, and then the thing I liked about Al Pacino's character, Michael, I loved particularly Al Pacino. In the way that he remained calm in every situation, yet had such a powerful presence. And I believe that is not only written and scripted for the character, but I also believe that Al Pacino had a certain type of presence to him that he maintained throughout the films. That I don't know, it's hard to really pinpoint what caused it or how you recreate that kind of thing, but the X factor of just having a powerful presence when you walk into a room, and I just think he had it. I think he looked like when you walk into a room and there are no name tags and you don't know who the boss is, you're gonna look at that guy and go, he looks like he's in charge, and that's what I appreciated about both of their performances. That's just my take on it.
I look back at Al Pacino, and I was thinking about it when we were first talking about this. how good he was in the 70s.
Yeah.
Anything really after that,
No, he's certainly, not as good as...
not as good.
His
I don't know.
performances have
And
not.
He's still doing some stuff. He did a Shakespeare play, which I thought, from what I heard, was pretty good.
Yeah. Well, good for him.
I think
Certainly
the
nothing
Merchant,
against
the
him.
Merchant of Venice. I
Okay.
think he was in, and seemed to do real well. He won the Academy Award for a movie called The Scent of a Woman, and he plays a blind.
He's blind. Doesn't he try to drive?
I think so. Yeah, he's a former officer that's blind.
I've seen that
And
scene.
he won the Academy Award, and I'm like, well, I mean, he was good, but it's kind of like, say, with Robert Duvall. Robert Duvall won an Academy Award for a movie called Tender Mercies.
Never even heard of it.
Yeah, it's kind of a...
Maybe that's due to
It was a modern-day 80s Western type thing.
Oh, okay.
And he won. Okay, I'm glad he won one, but it was not anything special.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider the stuff he had made before that.
Sure.
It was pretty good, so...
I got to get moving on to guest take, and I'm excited about this because this is one of my favorite segments, probably my favorite segment. It's all about you. I don't have to talk quite as much, so that's nice. There are 10 questions. You can do these rapid fire, or if you have a story behind one of them, that's certainly fine too. So number 1, your first movie-going experience. So what movie was it? How old were you, and what did you think?
Well, it had been in the mid-'60s.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly what the first one. I remember seeing Snow White.
Okay.
I remember seeing The Jungle Book.
Jungle Book, 67, I want to say.
Yeah, probably Snow White I saw before that.
What's the better memory between those two?
Oh, I love The Jungle Book.
Okay.
Loved Baloo, the bear,
Yeah.
and the singing and Bagheera. And
Were you blown away in the theater? Do you remember sitting in the theater and thinking this is so cool, or do you have those?
yeah, well, I always
memories
loved
of-
the Esquire Theater. I always wish the Esquire Theater would get rehabilitated.
Downtown
and-
theater, yeah.
and reopened. I've always liked movies. Always have. The anticipation as the lights go off and the lights behind the screen come on in the theater.
It's a fun experience, especially I think, as a kid.
Yeah, especially in the let me think here. The Esquire Theater had these blue and red neon lights in the ceiling, and I always loved those.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what other movies. I remember seeing Hello, Dolly. I think that was 1969 with Barbara Streisand.
Okay.
My parents didn't see a whole lot of movies, and if there was anything objectionable, my father would have a heart attack. So,
How old were you in? Let's go with Jungle Book. So say that was 67. How old were you?
I was 6 years old.
6 years old. Okay.
And I loved the songs, and my mom bought me the record.
I
So
still love
played
that movie.
Yeah, I played the record all the time.
Here we are 50 plus years later, and I think it's still a good movie. Awesome. Number 2, the last movie that you saw in theaters. What was that?
I could not remember the other day, but I think it was Dunkirk.
That's been a while.
Yeah, it was last fall or last winter.
Really?
Yeah, I don't go to the theater like I used to.
Okay, fair
You're
enough.
telling me how great The Avengers was, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking about trying to go see that. And,
Yeah.
there's a new
Dunkirk.
Deadpool movie coming out.
Yeah, it came
Or
out.
it came out.
Yeah, sure.
It's supposed to be pretty funny.
Sure. I've heard good things. Did you like Dunkirk?
I thought it was very exciting, and it was very good. The funny thing was I bought it on Blu-ray, and I started to watch it, and I kind of lost interest. Because
So you-
basically it's one suspenseful scene to the next
Yeah.
for everybody.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I like Christopher Nolan a lot, and I usually like all of his movies.
Oh, it's a
That-
great, well-made movie.
Yeah, I know it's yes, you're exactly right. But as far as the story and intriguing and keeping me captivated, I guess it wasn't my favorite of Nolan's because I'm a big fan of like I said, in Nolan in general. Everything he does, I like, except that just was less for me personally.
Well, it's like the young guy being killed on the boat. I didn't see why that was important.
Yeah.
Why did he have to die? The fact, it's like you just want to be in the paper. Yeah, well, yeah, your obituary,
Yeah, right.
big whoop.
Are you?
But the fact that he could have helped save people and that would have been in the paper would have been a much better
Yeah.
story to me.
Oh, for sure.
And the other thing was, Tom Hardy
Uh-huh.
kind of saves the day, and then he has to fly. Why couldn't he turn the plane around and land a little closer to Dunkirk and maybe hop on a boat and go home
Yeah.
instead of spending the entire movie in a POW camp in Nazi
Yeah.
Germany?
Ugh. Are you emotional?
Yeah,
Nice
certain
transition.
certain things make me emotional.
with movies.
Especially something with kids. You know, I get emotional about my kids.
Sure. I have the reason I bring that up.
family.
Number 3 movie that made you cry or become emotional. Do you have a number of them, or maybe one in particular that made you cry?
The one that jumps out in my mind is Les Miserables. When Anne Hathaway sings "I Dreamed a Dream," because she is so
You like musicals?
shocked.
You like musicals in general?
Not really.
But you
they're
like
not
that
logical enough for me. But when she sings how her whole life has totally turned out the opposite of what she expected,
Sucked, yeah.
and there's just she has no idea what to do. She's just so bereft of any hope. Oh,
It is.
just
Very
turned my
sad.
heart upside down. No, other than that, the problem with Les Miserables was, and I love Russell Crowe, but he can't sing high notes.
Nope.
So his singing
Not at
was
all.
horrible in
Yeah.
that.
I don't like musicals that sing throughout the whole thing. I don't mind songs, love songs. I love it when there's more of a reason for the song. When they all come into song, they're talking and chatting, and then boom, song. Not a big fan of, can you get me a glass of water? No,
Yeah.
no, thank you. That's not for me, but
And of course, here's the thing: with the way that movie ends,
I'm a wonderful
Eddie
singer.
Redmayne gets shot or something. He's grievously wounded. Okay, and Hugh Jackman carries him through the sewers of Paris to save his life. Then he gets sick and dies. Not the person with an open wound going through the waters of the sewers of Paris. No, it's a strapping guy that now he's old and he dies. And of course, then the movie ends with everyone that was on the barricades singing a great song. I'm like, oh my God. Really?
Again, that's one of those points, like you mentioned earlier about The Godfather. Didn't have that. That's one of those, really? Is that necessary
Really?
kind of things?
Huh?
Yeah. Worst movie you've ever seen, number 4.
Worst movie I've ever seen.
Or at least one of them.
I think there's movies I've been really disappointed in.
Sure. It could be.
I'll tell you one that I saw. The last movie. It was that Ryan Gosling,
La
Russell
Land?
Crowe,
No.
The Goodfellas, The Good Guys.
Huh? Not ringing a bell for me.
It's about their 70s detectives, and it wasn't funny at all. And Ryan Gosling's daughter has a huge role, so this 12-year-old is smarter than everybody else in the movie. Oh, give me a break!
I wish I could think of what that is.
Oh my gosh.
I obviously didn't see it. Anything else pop out at you for
I think it's
really,
called The Good
really
Guys.
bad?
I walked out of the Pirates movie. I think I said that.
Which Pirates movie?
It was called The Pirate Movie.
Oh, I thought you meant a
Christy
Pirates movie.
McNichol and somebody else. I walked out. I don't remember.
The Pirate movie.
What other
Which
movies
one?
have I
That's the
really
name of it.
disliked? There's a movie called Rising Sun with Sean Connery and Wesley Snipes. And I was really disappointed in that.
So you had high hopes, or
high
was
hopes going in with. Anytime you really go into a movie with high hopes and they don't measure up, that's the ones that
Don't
stand
go
out.
into it with expectations, because you're setting yourself up to be let down.
But I really like Sean Connery, and I thought Wesley
Unless
Snipes
it's Avengers, and then it delivers.
that's one. I'm trying to think what else stood out. Yeah, those are the ones
good
that pop
enough.
in my head.
Number 5, movie you're embarrassed to say you've never seen. I do want to point out, not that I don't think you're the type of person to get really embarrassed about this kind of thing, but maybe just a movie people would be surprised you haven't seen. A popular, maybe.
I've seen so many movies. I've never seen Saturday Night Fever, which was such a big deal when I was a
Travolta.
teenager with John Travolta.
Yeah. I can picture the cover right now with his arm up. And
Yeah. What have I not seen?
dare I say it again, Avengers you haven't seen?
I haven't seen the latest Avengers.
Yeah. Anything else?
Boy,
Really?
nothing's really popped into my mind that I'm
Wow.
embarrassed to say. I don't think I've seen all of Citizen Kane. I've seen a lot of Citizen Kane.
Okay, but not all the way through.
But I don't think because I don't remember how it ended.
You've seen
So,
all the older classics like Gone with the Wind, Casablanca.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's a lot of classics I haven't seen.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's
I was going through the list of top, like Crash. Do you remember the movie Crash?
I know the name. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I got the Academy Award for Picture of the Year. I've never seen it.
Okay. Nor have I. Same boat.
There's a lot of movies I've never. There's a lot of Academy Award winners that I haven't seen, Remember that silent film called The Artist? Okay.
Yeah.
I absolutely could care
No,
less.
thank you. Yeah.
But here's the thing. I am 56 years old. And what you're going to learn, and anyone who listens to this, as you get older, you begin to realize the only thing you have in life is time. Okay? And so how do you want to spend that time? Do you want to spend it wisely, or you just want to fribble it away? Okay?
I'm going to fribble it away.
Yeah, some movies, whenever I buy a movie now,
it's got to be worth your time.
It's got to be worth my time. Yeah. I mean, it's got to be something that I'm, so I will look up the IMDb.
Sure.
Especially IMDb.
Yeah.
If it's not above an 8, I'm probably not going to buy it / watch it.
Not going to watch that crap.
I'm just not going to do it because...
Do you ever find yourself completely disagreeing with the ratings of IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes?
Depending on the movie. I can't think of whatever stands out.
I disagree with Rotten Tomatoes all the time. IMDb I'm pretty close on, but there are some out there that really surprise me that are like a 5. So it looks like it'd be bad, and I watch it, go, yeah, I actually really liked it. So sometimes they really surprise me, but most of the time I'm on point with IMDb. They hate Adam Sandler, so anything Adam Sandler, don't look at the ratings, because if you like him, you might like the movie, but the ratings are always bad on his movies. So just one example.
I look at Adam Sandler as a lot of it's a waste of time. Now, I mean, what was the golf movie? Happy
Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore.
If you're into that kind of thing,
I mean, it was.
If you're not into it, then don't even bother. But if you're into cheesy comedy, so number 6 is favorite scene in a movie. You have a favorite scene?
Honestly, no.
Okay.
Well, I mean, here's the thing.
You're
I will actually sit down and watch a movie, and I will actually. The Nice Guys was that movie with Russell Crowe.
You looked it up. Okay.
Yeah, I looked it up.
Thank
Nice
you.
Guys.
You saved me a bit of fact checking.
Horrible movie. Horrible movie.
Favorite scene? If you don't have one,
I don't know that I have a favorite scene, but what I will do is I will get a movie out and watch my favorite scenes.
You'll put in a Blu-ray.
Yeah, put
pop
in
that
Blu-ray.
sucker
Watch
that scene and then be done.
Yeah, I do
Fair
that all
enough.
the time.
I YouTube stuff sometimes.
I've got them on my iPad, and I'll watch certain scenes. One of the funniest scenes I will rewatch.
The horse head in Godfather 1. Love that scene.
I'm sorry. You've got all these people working for you. You live on an estate. Yeah. Somebody decapitates a horse.
How'd they get your horse in there?
Carries the thing and somehow puts it in his bed while
That's
he's
a lot
asleep.
of blood.
A lot of blood.
That's a lot of blood for
work.
a brain, for a horse brain.
I don't know how you can walk through a house silently carrying a horse's head. But
how do you not wake up lifting those covers?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a light sleeper, so I'll be up
once
in
again, that's my point. That's the
Dag
one.
nabbit, we found a flaw.
You find a flaw in the Godfather.
There's a flaw in
I'm all for you want to kill the horse and leave the head out by the pool. All right, you got me there.
Or even in the stall of the barn.
Yeah.
You just come out there, feed your little horsey horse, and then boom, there's his head.
Yeah.
The only movie I can think of that does not have a flaw is The Dark Knight. Disagree. Boom. You can't think of one, can you?
Well, I haven't thought about The Dark Knight. That's the Heath Ledger one, right?
Yes.
It's a great movie.
Favorite movie of all time.
That's another movie, though. I saw it so much that I'll just watch certain scenes.
Yeah.
Who is one of the greatest lines, though, is if you're good at something, never do it for free.
Yes, sir.
That is a fantastic
My father
line.
always told me, yeah.
If you're good at something, never do it for free.
He is fantastic.
Wait a minute. I'm doing all this talking for free.
Yeah. Uh-oh. You're getting paid in smiles. I'm smiling a lot over here, folks. You're getting paid a ton. Your dream co-star, who would that be?
If I could work with anybody?
Yeah. One movie. You're a famous actor. You get to decide who your co-host, not co-host, sorry, co-star is.
Co-star?
Yeah.
I'd love to work with Russell Crowe.
Really? Yeah. Don't let him sing. Don't give that guy a mic.
No. Well, if he sings, it's got to be. He has a good voice, but it's low. He cannot hit the high notes.
Oh, yeah, you're right about that.
He can't hit high notes, but he's actually got a good
You take
voice.
You take those high notes. Let's just you're not in a musical. Russell Crowe, cool.
Let's see, Russell Crowe. Who else would I want to work with? Living or there's a few I would love to have worked with.
It's hard to work with dead guys.
Yeah, but there was an actor named Raul Julia that was amazing. Paul Newman. Oh my God, Paul Newman was to me was a civic treasure. I would love to have worked with Robin Williams.
Oh God, yeah.
You know,
Same here.
I had an idea for a movie with him, and he would have just been so. He would have been so great in it. Me,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been anything special, but I could have made him so great in that movie.
Yeah. Dagnabbit.
He would have played an Irishman, a drunk Irishman.
He can do that.
So well.
He has comedy skits with Irish, Scottish. He can do them all, but he's hilarious with those accents. Favorite line in a movie? Do you have one? This is number 8.
Number 8.
Yeah, we got a couple more.
You know, there's lines that stick in my head under certain.
Why don't we just okay? There's no.
But I mean, I love. You know, my dad always said, if you're good at something, never do it for free.
Yeah. So maybe not just the all-time number 1 favorite, but maybe a couple that come to your mind when you think of really solid lines. What you got?
Oh my goodness.
That 50.
I'll give you an example.
How old are you?
56.
56-year-old brain of yours.
Now, in Total, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, you mentioned Total Recall.
Yeah.
He was in a movie called The Running Man.
Yes, he was.
And it goes back to the Terminator.
You know who was in that movie? Correct me if I'm wrong. His name's Richard something. He was
Dawson.
the host of Family Feud.
Yes.
Look at that. We need to be on trivia.
He had a great line.
Richard
Dawson
Look
in
at
The
me.
Running Man.
No one thinks. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Who was it?
And of course,
Or what was it?
what Schwarzenegger used it several times, and it started with the Terminator, was "I'll be back."
Yeah.
Okay. So he uses that in several movies, and he uses that to Richard Dawson.
He uses that line.
Hey, Killian, I'll be back.
Oh my god.
Okay, so it's a TV show. The Running Man is a TV show where convicted criminals.
The movie is about a TV show, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And Richard Dawson looks at him first and goes, "Yeah, only in the reruns."
That's funny.
That is so much better than "I'll be back." But yeah, only in the reruns.
That's funny.
There's lots of lines that people think, "Oh, that's a great line." Well, there's better lines sometimes.
Sure.
It's often not the famous line, but there's actually a better line with it.
Yeah. Guilty pleasure movie. A movie that you like that either tanked at the box office or maybe just most people don't care for. And you got any of those?
I really like a movie called A Good Year with Russell Crowe.
Oh yeah.
It's about a vineyard in the south of France.
I've heard of that. When did I? I was told to watch that recently.
It's a good movie.
I believe.
Now, it's nothing but Marion Cotillard.
Who else is in that?
Marion Cotillard, that French actress.
Anybody else?
Albert Finney plays the role
Maybe I'm
of
thinking something else.
his uncle who's passed away, and that's how he gets the vineyard.
Okay.
But he has a few lines, a few scenes in that's cute. There's a movie, if you watch the director's cut, called The Kingdom of Heaven.
I've heard of it.
I'm not a big Orlando Bloom fan. I mean, I liked him in Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one. Mm-hmm. But he plays this guy.
I don't really know him from much else.
It's about the Crusades and the Kingdom of Jerusalem when it was in Christian hands, and ends up, because of his he's a bastard as a character.
Nice.
Well, that's just no. He plays the bastard son of this lord. The Lord dies. Played by Liam Neeson. And honestly, some of the most interesting people of the movie are Liam Neeson's soldiers, and they all get killed in the beginning. And the problem with that movie is there's a lot of scenes where you're like, oh, come on. But I do enjoy that movie from time to time, but it's got to be the director's cut, because the director's cut explains there's more scenes in the director's cut.
You know what I've heard
versus the original cut.
I get it, why there's a director's cut and why there's a regular theater version, but I heard it put one way. I forget which director, a famous director said this, that I don't believe there is a director's cut. He said the director's cut is the movie. He said that's what you make the movie for, is your cut. Now, I understand production companies get in the way sometimes and force your hand a bit in it. But if you have your say on it, the director's cut should be the final product that audiences see in the theater. But unfortunately, sometimes that doesn't work out.
Well, I'll give you an example in that movie. The boat he's on crashes into the sea.
Okay.
And the only survivors are Orlando Bloom and this white stallion. Nobody else is alive. No one else is there. Okay, on the seashore. And I'm always amazed how somebody wakes up from not drowning.
Yeah.
Everybody else drowned, and you somehow wash up on the seashore.
What was going on there?
And then you wake up later. I think that if I got washed up,
were you sleep swimming?
Yeah, I never quite figured that plot line out. So of course, then he gets on the horse and starts making his way toward Jerusalem. Now, once again, you're on a beach. You've never been here. All you've done is lived your life in France.
Yeah.
And now you're going kind of in the right direction. It's not like there's street signs in the desert.
Right. No
GPS. So
another part of the movie.
How did you get there?
I have a very important question for you. This is number 10. What is your favorite movie of all time?
Don't have one.
All right. Now I have a gun to your head. Now what's your favorite movie of all time?
I will tell you based on
Okay, people,
genre.
calm down. There's not really a gun to his head. What?
I have favorites based on genre.
Okay.
So if you were to say romantic comedy.
No, I'm going to say comedy. What is your favorite comedy?
Favorite comedy
Mr. Norman.
would be, I really loved Fish Called Wanda.
Okay.
There's another great classic called Some Like It Hot with Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon, Marilyn Monroe. Hilarious. I love Casablanca. I love The Godfather.
Action adventure.
Doing
these rapid fire.
There is a movie that not very many people see, but talking about an action adventure, it's called Deep Rising, and it was about this sea creature.
It sounds very familiar, but I don't believe I've seen it.
It had Treat Williams and Wes Studi and Famke Janssen. Okay,
I don't think I know any of those.
I like James Bond movies for the most part.
Yeah.
I love the last
Daniel Craig series. You like those?
I like Daniel Craig a lot.
Skyfall was awesome.
Yeah. Spectre was talking about lines. Spectre at the end when he comes up to Blofeld and he's got the torn up face and he goes, "Ow, that must have really hurt."
Oh yeah,
that cracked me up.
Yeah,
I mean that
funny lines and serious moments.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. Favorite drama? That's Godfather, right?
Probably Godfather, but there's a movie called Nobody's Fool.
Yes.
With Paul Newman. Just an amazing movie. Amazing movie. What's your favorite movie? It's funny, but it's also fairly serious.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you out there. What's your favorite movie that you've been in?
Well, I was an extra in
Gone
Girl.
Right now, everyone's thinking, he's an actor?
I was an extra in Gone Girl, but I got to work like 6 days.
Yeah, you did.
I got to do a lot.
Yeah.
I was in I was in indie film, Love Chronicles of the Cape, where I actually had speaking lines.
Oh, sweet. Cool. Who's your favorite fellow actor you get to work with in any movie you've ever been in?
This is going to sound funny. Besides, of course, you were across the park.
I was right next to you in some of those scenes.
No, you weren't.
Okay, people, go back, watch Gone Girl, watch the scene with the vigil scene, and watch when we start running after Ben Affleck's character Nick Dunn. You look for what was you worked for
I was a reporter.
A reporter. Watch the reporter. That's Eric, and then watch a kid in a white No, I don't even remember what I was wearing now. I think it was a black T-shirt, and I run right in front of the gazebo. I was right in front of Ben Affleck. You can't miss me if you zoom in and pause at exactly an hour and 12 minutes.
I'll have to go and watch that.
Yeah.
I worked with 3 other people. Their names were Heather,
Sears,
Heath, and Sears.
Yep.
And I just had the best time with the 3 of them.
God, I did too. I had a wonderful time, and I was only there for 2 or 3 days, and you were there for 6 or about a full week.
I got to work with them the whole time, and
loved it.
We just had a great time together. Now
I was right next to you on some of those scenes, so that was cool to know someone, to be in the same. And it wasn't really a room because my scenes were outside, but to be on the set of a movie with David Fincher, Ben Affleck, and then you as a friend was one of the coolest, and your son was one of the coolest memories I have of anything in movie related specifically. I had a blast.
I'll tell you what I remember about several things I remember about that night's shot that you were at. I spend the entire evening chasing Ben Affleck.
Mm-hmm. Same here.
My son.
Now you know what it's like to be a woman your entire life.
My son gets to stand next to a supermodel in Emily Ratajkowski
Sure.
For 2 straight nights. My son gets to stand next to
Your son,
a supermodel.
Connor, was in, oh my gosh, he was in a shot, I guess you could say, when they zoom in on her. He is right behind her, like
He's
direct.
right next to her.
You can see his face very clearly in the movie.
And this was
cool.
the fun part, was that I would sneak up behind Fincher and those people
Yeah.
and kind of watch over his shoulder.
I did too on a couple, not particularly on
kept
that one.
telling me to go back, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then I came back, But I got to watch him direct Connor because he wanted certain facial expressions.
Yeah,
for
a
him
certain
to
look on
get.
his face. Yeah.
A certain look. And that was fun. That was so
Oh my
cool
gosh,
to
yes.
watch.
To get direction from one of the greats in Hollywood. I when they took breaks, I would go behind Fincher and listen to what he was saying because they'd rewatch what they just shot and stuff. That was amazing to be on an actual Hollywood set, not just a independent little film. This was a huge movie. I also before we move on, we do have to. We've kind of gotten off track here a bit. We will move on to our Who They Play Best segment after I say this. I was in 2 scenes at once. My first, the main scene I was actually instructed to be in was right in front of, I was the first person in line and the townspeople when Ben Affleck was on stage talking to everyone. So I was right in front of him there. But at the same time, when he's yelling to I forget her name, the actress that yelled, did you tell him that she was 6 weeks pregnant, Nick? Did you tell him that? When she's yelling. So when they actually went back and shot that the next day, they asked for a handful of people to get next to the actor. I really wish I could remember her name, but the actress that yells that out. So they said we need, 20 people. And
It's Casey somebody.
yeah, you're right. It is Casey somebody. Well, I ran over there because I'm like, I want to be as many scenes as I can. So I was actually, if you look, I think you can see my shoes because it didn't get my face in it, but I was in 2 separate shots of the same scene, meaning I was literally in front of the gazebo, and then they turned camera angle, go back to her where she's yelling in the crowd, and I'm standing right next to her too. So I'm really in 2 spots at once. So I screwed them up a bit, but that was a blast. Loved every moment of it.
Yeah. I got paid $8 an hour, and I would have paid them the $8 an hour to watch.
Exactly. Same here. Same boat. Who they play best. So that is where we're going to talk about a particular actor, find out which role they played best, which character, and today is Tom Hanks. So again, Tom Hanks is who we'll be considering for who they play best. And so we're going to talk about a few of his famous roles. He was Chuck Noland in Castaway. He played Josh in Big. He was Woody in Toy Story. Paul Edgecombe in The Green Mile. Joe Fox, You've Got Mail. Andrew Beckett in Philadelphia. Do you have any thoughts on the ones I mentioned? Did you like him in any of those in particular?
I don't think there's anything I haven't liked Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think he was a guy that was so funny when he started. He was a comedian. Mm-hmm. And then he transitioned into
a little more serious role.
very serious roles.
Yeah. He's always solid. You're right, though, in everything he does. He's always.
I kind of wish he would do some real comedy.
Yeah.
Again.
He'd be
I really
great at
do.
it.
I think he could do real comedy. He was great in Philadelphia. Hold on.
What did he win? He won, or was
He
it
won the
nominated?
Academy Award for Philadelphia, and
did.
then the next year he did it with Forrest Gump.
Ah, yeah.
So he won 2 years in a row, and that's the first time that's ever been done. And Forrest Gump, I really enjoyed Forrest Gump.
Yeah, and
Because
that's what I was gonna say. Don't mean to cut you off there. That is my pick. So as far as the roles that I think he did best in, that is actually my pick. Forrest Gump. He played Forrest Gump in the movie Forrest Gump, and that's my winner as far as his roles. But it's really difficult to pick with a guy like Tom Hanks.
his role, though, as Paul Edgecombe in The Green Mile was amazing. Mm-hmm. That is one of those movies where toward the final scenes, the 2-3 final scenes where he offers to let Michael Clark Duncan go because he knows he's innocent.
Yeah.
That he'd lose his job, but he would let him go because he has to face God.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael Clark Duncan basically saying, "I've seen so much, I would just soon die."
Jeez. Yeah.
Was, just
very emotional.
That scene was like a punch in the stomach. Is how good it was.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool when a movie comes out and grabs you like that.
Yeah, that movie made me emotional.
Yeah.
afterwards when I left. I was really mesmerized by it. And then shaking his hand before they flipped the switch to kill him. You know, because they know he's an innocent man. He does not deserve to die. Mm-hmm. He was just trying to save those little girls, and he couldn't get there in time. Is the plot point of that story. But it was just, there wasn't a bad actor. Sam Rockwell.
I don't know.
Didn't he get an Academy Award last year or something for the Ebbing, 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri?
He could have, yeah.
I think he won an Oscar for that.
Could be right.
He was really good in that. There's a guy, he's passed away now. He was in a TV show. His name was something Styles in Evening Shade. Burt Reynolds, and played a football coach in Evening Shade, Arkansas.
Okay.
Great sitcom. And he was a character in that, and he plays this little nebbish character who is cruelly executed. They don't do it right. Mm-hmm. But just a great character. It was just a great movie, but it was so sad.
Yeah.
You know, about the death.
Sometimes movies that are make me a little emotional. I have a weird relationship with it because they're so good. They're literally they're made so well, and you want to watch it. Yet at the same time, there's a handful out there that I don't know that I really want to be sad right now. Like they're enjoyable to watch, but at the same time, the way they make
it comes down to, are you willing to make the emotional investment?
Yeah. The Pursuit of Happiness has a special place.
Oh, does it?
To me. Yeah, Will Smith.
Never saw that, but
it's the good story there between his father and son, which is interesting enough. His father and son in real life. Jaden Smith in real life plays his fictional son. Just if you're a dad, mm-hmm. especially if you have sons, wow, it's really really good. It's just. Without getting too far into it, it's just a great story about a father who really, really cares about his son and will do anything.
And sacrifices.
Yeah.
That's the whole real key to being a parent. A good parent, you're going to sacrifice. No, you'll find some that want to be martyrs and just sacrifice everything. No, you don't have to sacrifice everything for your kids.
Yeah.
But your kids should always have the highest priority.
Sure. Last thing I want to say about that, even though this isn't even, Tom Hanks wasn't even in this, but I have to bring it up because it was one of those kinds of movies for me, it was based on a true story, and the guy's still alive, and he wrote a book. He's now famous. He made it on Wall Street. It's a cool story in general.
Oh, talk about Pursuit of Happiness.
The Pursuit of Happiness. Sorry, yeah, I know we got sidetracked. That was a Will Smith movie. But
going back to Tom Hanks, I thought he was great in Apollo. Was Apollo 11?
What was he in? 11 or 13? I'll have to look it up.
I'd have to look it up. I think it was Apollo 11.
Let's go with that.
And he was great in that. He was in this movie called The Post.
Yeah. With Meryl Streep.
Yeah, Meryl Streep. I didn't see it because basically it's about them printing the Pentagon Papers, mm-hmm. which was a big deal the New York Times and the Washington Post did because it exposed the government, the federal government, and mm-hmm. lies they told about Vietnam. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, the whole movie was about how brave they were and how they were willing to face jail time, which I've only known of 2 or 3 reporters that actually went to jail over not naming a source. You know, they're like, oh, we're just so brave in what we're doing. Oh, please. But anyway, that's what the whole movie is about. I didn't bother to see it.
Do you have a favorite of Tom Hanks?
Tom Hanks' favorite?
Da Vinci Code was really successful.
I like the Da Vinci Code movies. I've seen all 3 of them. Mm-hmm. I thought Angels and Demons was the most interesting one.
Yeah. What about of any Tom Hanks, of any franchise? Do you have a favorite?
Well, you mentioned those that if I was going to watch one Tom Hanks movie, mm-hmm. what would it be? I don't really know. I would probably lean toward Forrest Gump because it is funny, and I liked who's Captain Dan? What's his name? My mind's going back. Gary Sinise. I really like Gary Sinise.
He's really good, yeah.
I like Robin Wright. I thought her, Jenny was basically she used people, but when you think about how she was harmed by her father, it makes a person, I guess, have a tendency to think more of yourself than others.
Am I crazy here? Was she not in The Princess Bride? Was she not the princess?
That was her first movie.
Okay.
Great. That's a great movie. Yeah, I love The Princess Bride. It is so funny.
It's hilarious.
There's a scene when they go into the fire swamp, And he goes, it's really, I will actually, you say, do I watch scenes? I will actually watch that scene.
Yeah.
Because I had
What
a
about
girl.
the ROUSs? I don't believe they exist.
Yeah.
Love it.
But he goes, it's really not so bad. And she gives him this look of, what?
Yeah. Are you crazy?
And I had a girlfriend that would give me the exact same look.
Yeah.
And it cracks me up. Now, it didn't really crack me up at the time because I got tired of being looked at like I was an idiot.
Yeah.
Like I needed help.
For one moment, it's funny.
But I see that cracks me up the way she gives him that what look. Doesn't say anything, she just looks at him.
I'm gonna move on to the suggested reel, but I do want to hear. Did you pick a favorite of Tom Hanks? One movie you're gonna watch. You said Forrest Gump.
I think
right?
Forrest Gump.
You settled on that. Okay.
I really liked Forrest Gump. I
enough.
really liked The Green Mile. So.
They could call it a tie.
And once again, I can't think of a bad movie. I'd never liked You Got Mail. I think you said you'd like that.
I do,
one
yeah.
time. I never liked You Got Mail because I thought the ending was stupid.
Okay, well that's fair enough. I really enjoyed it, but to each their own. Like you said, Tom delivers in everything he does. Now the movie you may not always like, but Tom always delivers as far as his role, I think. Suggested role. Moving on. I am picking. So this is where I pick a movie that either maybe not a lot of people have seen, wasn't super popular box office. Maybe an older movie that people forgot about. But today it is The Count of Monte Cristo from 2002, starring Jim Caviezel and Guy Pearce. Guy Pearce plays a villain. He plays a wonderful villain in a lot of movies. He's very good in this. The synopsis you might find online goes something like this. A young man falsely imprisoned by his jealous friend, in quotes, escapes and uses a hidden treasure to exact his revenge. So not a lot of info there, but it takes place at the time period of Napoleon Bonaparte. Mm-hmm. So right now, everybody under 25 is going, no thanks. But please, if you're listening, give this one a shot. It is way better than you could imagine. Don't just take my word for it. Give it a watch. I believe it is the best revenge story of all time. It is in the top 3 of my favorite movies of all time. It has a wonderful story. Especially if you've ever been betrayed by anyone, you'll enjoy this because of the revenge story. Interesting fact, it was Henry Cavill's second credited role. Henry Cavill, who plays Superman, Man of Steel. He was only 17, I believe, when they filmed this. He's really good in it. Guy Pearce, like I mentioned, plays a very good villain. Jim Caviezel is the lead. He's amazing. I love the story. He gets falsely imprisoned, as the synopsis said, and makes his way out. And the way that he attempts to make revenge upon his friend is just awesome. I love it. It's one of my favorites. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
At one time?
I liked it. I mean, you know what's going to happen because it's such an old story. Is by Alexander Dumas, who did the Three Musketeers. Mm-hmm. What else
It has a similar feel to Three Musketeers, similar time period.
There's some movie he did. I mean,
love that movie.
He wrote 3 or 4 big books.
Yeah,
big books. I was actually in the bookstore the other day, and I picked one up by him. 792 pages. So there's a lot to read. You know what got me about that movie, though, was that Luis Guzman plays his servant, and they find that treasure.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like if I'd been Luis Guzman.
You just slit his throat.
I won't say I slit his throat, but let's just say that my days of a servant are over, and, some of this treasure is going to be mine.
Yeah. I can understand that.
I mean, yeah, okay, I'll give you the lion's share. You saved my life, but, you can share.
We can split some of this.
We can split some of this.
I do want to ask you one more thing before we wrap it up here. So that was my suggested reel, The Count of Monte Cristo. So that's something I suggest for people to check out if they haven't seen it. Do you have one? Do you have a movie that maybe not a lot of people have seen? Anything you want to throw out there that's worth a watch?
Mm-hmm. One of them is Nobody's Fool with Paul Newman.
Sure, you mentioned that earlier. Yeah.
That movie was so well cast. In fact, what's interesting is when you watch the credits, Bruce Willis is in it.
Oh, really? What year did that? Do you have
I think it was 94.
Okay, mid-90s.
Mid-90s.
Okay. Sure.
It's about a man that has led a life of as little responsibility as possible, except he ends up actually helping everybody around him.
Oh, okay.
But
who is that? Who's the lead?
Paul Newman.
Okay.
But he doesn't raise his son. He had left his wife when the son was little. Son comes back into his life by more or less by accident. And that's when he meets his grandchildren, and he finds one grandchild he really likes and decides he wants to be a better person. So it's kind of a redemption movie.
Oh, sure.
But some of the lines are just laugh out loud.
Yeah.
And it's just one of the funniest movies. Well, anyway.
Is it technically a comedy or is it comedy drama?
Comedy drama more like
Okay.
anything. And Jessica Tandy was in it. Now, Jessica Tandy won the Best Actress for Driving Miss Daisy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
She wanted to be in
That's a
that
good
movie so bad, she was not telling anybody that she was undergoing chemotherapy. It was her last movie.
And Nobody's Fool or Driving?
Yeah, Nobody's Fool was her last movie.
Okay.
She didn't tell anybody she was going through chemotherapy because she did not want any excuse that she could not play her scenes.
Wow. That's cool.
Bruce Willis
not cool that she was going through chemo, but cool that she wanted to be in the movie.
Yeah, that's how badly she wanted to be in the movie. Bruce Willis, you watch it and he's got a pretty big role, and he's not in the credits. He actually took that role uncredited just so he could act with Paul Newman.
Well, that's cool.
And
sounds like it's worth a watch.
The dialogue in this movie is some of the best dialogue I've ever had.
There you have it.
Margot Martindale plays this, owns a bar, and she went on to, I think, get an Emmy Award for Justified, and she's been in The Americans. She's a pretty good actress. She married Antonio Barris. Melanie Griffin.
Griffin?
Sorry.
Okay.
She's in it. She's got a good role. It's a good movie. Other movies that stand out.
No, that's all right. Just one is good enough because that sounds like a good one. So everybody, there you have it. Go check out Nobody's Fool if you haven't seen it already.
Well, one last one.
Yeah.
Two.
Two more. Okay.
Fish Called Wanda.
Hang in there.
Absolutely one of the funniest movies.
Funniest? Okay.
Oh my God, it is so funny. Kevin Kline won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. They never give out an Academy Award for a comedic role. And he was so good in that.
Very rare, yeah.
And
awesome.
then Shakespeare in Love has got so many little things because of Joseph Fiennes. I love that movie.
Okay.
I mean, Gwyneth Paltrow won the Best Actress, and it won the Movie of the Year.
Huh.
But Joseph Fiennes, who plays Shakespeare, is just hilarious.
Cool.
Ben Affleck's in that movie, and he is also just hilarious.
Gotta see it then.
Very small role. He plays an actor as an actor.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's always funny to have.
Oh my gosh, he's so funny in his little lines.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's it.
Eric, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
See you guys. All right, guys, you know the drill. Do not go anywhere. My wife is preparing to correct me on all my many mistakes throughout this episode. And as you can tell from our conversation, there will be plenty. So please enjoy the fact check for episode 4 with Eric Norman. All right, welcome back to what?
What was that?
I don't know. It's just the thing I do before we start the fact check. I'm worn out from thinking about all my mistakes. Because I feel like there's going to be a lot on this. Episode 4, yes, as I was saying, welcome back to episode 4 fact check with Eric Norman, where we talked for quite a while, learned a lot about him and his love for Paul Newman, among other things. I think the damage is going to be pretty bad here.
There's just 11 things here. Not too many. A lot less than I thought between you and Eric.
Yeah, we both tend to spit out some stuff too. Kind of like Brandon's episode. We had lots of nonsense swirling around. But 11 things, that's not too bad. That's just one page of fact-checking stuff for you. So that's not too bad. What do we got first?
Okay, so in your flashback year, 1990 was what you guys talked about, but the
Right.
Rams came up, and it was questioned about when...
Which we both used to like.
Yeah.
Before they cheated on us.
They came to St. Louis in 1995, and as we remember, sadly, they left. Their last year with us was 2015.
Yeah, bummer. They went from California to Missouri, back to California. And you said 95. So that was the part that we really couldn't remember was when they came here, right?
Yep.
For sure. Okay, 95. Thank you. All right, what else? Yeah.
Well, Misery came up, and that gruesome scene
Yuck.
when Kathy Bates breaks his ankles, not his knees. Sorry, babe.
Yeah, I was wrong. So I thought it was knees. He was right with ankles, so you got me, Eric. But either way, awful. Sledgehammer to the ankles is still bad. Ugh.
I know this is a fact check, but I want to just throw out there something awesome about this was that Kathy Bates this was her first movie, such an intense role.
Really?
And she had been pulled from Broadway for it because they went from actress to actress in Hollywood, and they couldn't find anybody who would have been able to fit that role.
Huh.
So,
You said when they saw her, they knew that she was right for the...
yeah, they saw her act, and they knew she was right. And it's crazy because,
Okay, where we're recording... I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you. Where we're recording, it is storming, so if you hear some thunder in the background, that's what that's about. But go ahead.
Most everybody should be and is against violence, but more so than other people, she really is. And there were multiple times while filming that scene that she had to stop and was just crying because she had to portray that intense, violent character of hurting somebody. So it was pretty gruesome.
Pretty hard for a first role, especially.
Yeah.
Crazy. Okay.
And then to move on from that, Tremors. Michael Gross in that.
Big worms. Yeah. Big fan of Tremors. What was it? We couldn't remember.
The TV show that he was in. You guys named an awful lot of them, but it was Family Ties.
Family Ties. Yes. Michael Gross played Bert on Tremors, which he was a really cool dude. Lots of guns, lots of ammo, and he was friends with Reba McEntire. So there you go.
I know you're always telling me I need to watch that, but I don't think that's going to
Oh,
happen.
you never seen it?
No.
I thought you'd seen that. Well, Kevin Bacon's in it, so you know it's good. Don't watch the other 12 they made, the other sequels, but the first one's good.
And then to redeem yourself, you were correct about Johnny Depp being in Nightmare on Elm Street as his first role. He wasn't a main role, but he still was. He was in that.
Yeah, first one. Then he went on to do 21 Jump Street, the TV show, and he had a cool little cameo in Channing Tatum's 21 Jump Street later in that. But yeah, first role was Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, and then the movie you were in, Gone Girl, you could not remember Casey Wilson's name.
Casey Wilson. And she was the pregnant lady in Gone Girl that yelled at me for like hours straight on set. And then what's funny was right after she got done yelling at me, she was in Starbucks where I worked at the time the very next morning. And I was like, hey, you yelled at me all night. And it was funny. But so she was still on her way to the set, and I was unfortunately making coffee. Blech.
She was really excellent.
She was really nice too.
And then Sam Rockwell, Eric brought him up, and he did get Oscar for Best Supporting Actor.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I did know about that one.
Cool. And then you guys were talking about Tom Hanks and the films he had been in, and what did he play best? And he was in Apollo 13. You couldn't remember which of the Apollo movies he had been in.
Yeah, I don't know. Both of them sounded right to me when we were recording. Couldn't remember. 13 was Tom Hanks. Cool.
Yep. And then Pursuit of Happiness. I still have not seen that, but Will Smith, he played Chris Gardner.
Yeah, I knew that name and it just wasn't coming to me. Chris Gardner was, and he is still alive, and that was a real life, the name of the character that Will Smith was portraying. So cool story, very cool story about him coming up from. Yeah, I think I talked about this a little bit with Eric, but not having anything, then becoming an entrepreneur and making millions and stuff. So cool story.
Yep. And then Eric brought up Nobody's Fool, and he really loved that movie. And the year that it came out was 1994. And I think he actually did say comedy drama, but I did want to clarify because you had asked. It's definitely a drama comedy.
It's like a dramedy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then Melanie Griffith, he said, I believe it was Melanie Griffin.
He didn't say anything right. Yeah.
No, it was Melanie Griffin that he said, but it was actually Melanie Griffith.
And then did you hear the way he said Antonio Banderas? He said Antonio Barris. So nothing right about that one, Eric. Take that. That's what you get for having the ankles right.
She was married to Antonio Banderas.
Yeah.
And then last,
funny couple.
Something that came up throughout was the profit that tobacco and oil companies make.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
That was really tough. I spent a long time trying to find an exact number.
He said that an average gallon of gas, oil companies, whatever, make like 10 cents, and the same thing for cigarette companies, that they make 10 cents per cigarette pack. But we didn't find any facts, any evidence of that number. But what was it that you did find?
Oil companies averaged a profit margin around 6.5%.
So I don't know, as much as cigarettes and gas can go up and change prices, that it may equate to 10 cents in some percentages, but I don't know.
Right now, it costs about 6 cents to make a single cigarette, and then a pack is sold for $7. So I know you have to equate where some of the money is going to. But
Ridiculous.
I mean,
That's a tough one.
it could be more or less.
He could be roughly right. So it's I guess it's innocent until proven guilty. So you're off the hook on this one, Eric, for now.
But
Well,
that was
that's
all.
it.
That was the last thing.
That's everything? Oh, that's not too bad. Did you like the episode? We talked a lot.
Yeah, Eric's funny.
Yeah, he is. We both had a good time recording the episode, though. Like I said, we did talk quite a bit, but it wasn't like, it didn't feel like it just went on and on or anything. So, yeah, we both had fun with the episode. But I believe that is everything. So thanks again for listening, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Bye-bye now.